Hey man, there comes a moment in every man's life when he finally realizes that chasing love, attention, or validation was never strength. It was weakness, disguised as effort. You've been conditioned to believe that persistence is love, that proving yourself is loyalty, that waiting is romantic. But the truth is, every time you text her first, every time you chase her when she pulls away, every time you care more than she does, you're not showing love, you're surrendering your power. You're teaching her that you'll accept breadcrumbs, that she doesn't need to reciprocate, that she can vanish and still be met with warmth. The moment you stop doing that, the second you decide not to text, not to chase, not to care, that's when everything shifts, because in that silence, she loses her control. In that distance, she feels the emptiness she once made you feel. That's how you win, not by trying to convince her to stay, but by showing her that you never needed her to begin with. The biggest mistake most men make is believing that a woman's interest can be earned through effort, but attraction doesn't grow from logic, it grows from mystery. The more predictable you are, the less she feels the pull. When you text too much, when you explain yourself, when you chase her approval, you strip away the one thing that drives desire: uncertainty. Women don't crave clarity, they crave curiosity. They want to feel something they can't define. That's why detachment works. When you don't chase, you trigger her instincts. When you don't respond immediately, she wonders what you're doing. When you stop caring whether she stays or leaves, she starts fighting to be noticed again. You reverse the power dynamic entirely, not by being rude or manipulative, but by being at peace with yourself. You become the calm she can't shake off, the one who doesn't seek her, yet stays on her mind day and night. Every message you don't send, every call you don't make, every emotion you don't over-explain, it builds something stronger than attention: self-respect. You start to understand that love shouldn't feel like convincing someone of your worth. It should feel like two people meeting halfway. When she walks away and you don't follow, it tells her that your love had boundaries. It reminds her that she wasn't the source of your happiness. She was merely a chapter in your evolution. You stop begging for closure because you've realized that silence is closure. The man who no longer reacts becomes unpredictable, and that unpredictability makes him unforgettable. You stop being the one who texts paragraphs, and you start being the one she rereads old conversations from, wondering where she lost you. That's the shift. You go from being emotionally available to being emotionally selective, and in that you become the man she can't replace. When you finally master emotional control, something powerful happens. Peace starts to feel better than attention. You no longer crave the highs and lows, the push and pull, the constant need to prove your value. You realize that the man who chases is reacting to lack, but the man who waits is radiating abundance. You stop searching for her messages and start searching for your purpose. You stop checking your phone and start checking your discipline. You stop asking why doesn't she care and start asking why did I? That's growth, because once you've experienced peace after chaos, the thrill of the chase feels cheap. You'd rather be alone than be half-loved. You'd rather stay silent than argue for attention. You'd rather be misunderstood than be manipulated. That's when you become dangerous, because now she can't reach you through guilt, confusion, or charm. You've built your power on one foundation: indifference. When you stop chasing, she feels it immediately. The same woman who once ignored your text starts checking her phone. The same one who seemed disinterested starts asking mutual friends how you're doing. It's not because she suddenly loves you again, it's because she lost the validation you used to give her. Women are emotional investors. When they pull away, they expect you to chase, to reaffirm their importance. But when you don't, you break the pattern. And that pattern is her comfort zone. You become the unanswered question in her head. Why isn't he reacting? That question drives her crazy, because for the first time she's not in control. That's when curiosity becomes craving. That's when indifference becomes attraction. That's when silence becomes the loudest message she's ever heard. You see, most men think they lose a woman when they stop trying. The truth is, that's when they start gaining themselves. The version of you that chased was operating out of fear. Fear of losing her. Fear of being alone. Fear of not being enough. But the man who walks away with calmness isn't afraid, he's free. And that freedom radiates in ways she can't ignore. You start looking more confident, not because you changed your appearance, but because you stopped seeking her approval. You start speaking differently, not because you rehearsed, but because you found inner peace. You start living again, sleeping better, focusing more, moving forward. That's the energy shift she feels even miles away. You're not playing games, you're mastering detachment. You're no longer trying to prove your worth, you embody it. And that's why she starts to chase. Women can sense when a man's focus is no longer on them. It disrupts the emotional rhythm they were used to. When you were chasing, you were predictable, an emotional safety net. But when you go quiet, you introduce mystery back into the dynamic. You stop orbiting around her world and start revolving around your own. You begin building, training, working, improving, and without realizing it, you become the version of yourself she always hoped you'd be, just not for her. That's what stings the most. She'll see the glow up, the confidence, the new direction, and she'll remember when that energy was hers. But now, it's not about revenge, it's about evolution. You're no longer a man chasing love, you're a man who's become love, grounded and complete. And once you reach that point, you understand why not caring isn't cold, it's clarity. At some point, she'll try to test the waters again. Maybe a casual text, maybe a nostalgic memory, maybe pretending she just wants to check on you. But the tone will be different now. There will be uncertainty in her words, the kind that comes from losing emotional power, and your silence will echo louder than any message she could send. That's when the balance flips completely. She'll start chasing the man she once ignored, not because she's changed, but because you have. You're not the same man who once begged for her attention. You're not the man who once lost sleep over her mixed signals. You're the man who's finally mastered himself. And once a man masters his emotions, no woman can manipulate them. The game ends when you realize your peace is the prize. The greatest irony of it all is that the moment you stop trying to win her back is the moment you actually win. Not her, but yourself. You win your time, your energy, your identity. You stop seeking closure because your silence is closure. You stop needing validation because your presence speaks louder than any words. You stop explaining, apologizing, overcompensating. You just live. And that life, calm, grounded, unapologetic, becomes magnetic. Because the man who doesn't chase anything naturally attracts everything. You'll notice people treating you differently, opportunities flowing more freely, and most of all, your own reflection finally looking back with pride. That's the real victory. Not getting her back, but getting you back. So don't text her, don't chase her, don't care. Not because you're playing a game, but because you're finally done playing yourself. You're not ignoring her to make her miss you. You're choosing silence to protect your peace. You're not walking away to prove a point. You're walking away because the point has already been made. A man's strength isn't measured by how much he can endure from others. It's measured by how much he refuses to tolerate once he knows his value. The day you stop reacting is the day you reclaim your power. That's how you win. Not through anger, not through revenge, but through calm detachment. Because in a world full of men who chase validation, the one who doesn't becomes the prize. When you stop chasing, the silence becomes her mirror. It reflects everything she never wanted to see about herself. The manipulation, the arrogance, the false confidence she used to disguise her fear of being unworthy. Your absence doesn't just sting, it exposes her. She begins to realize that every game she played only worked because you participated. The teasing, the delayed replies, the tests, they only had power when you cared enough to respond. Now you've walked away, and she's left staring at the reality she built, one where she can no longer provoke you, no longer pull emotional strings, no longer feed off your reactions. That emptiness she feels isn't heartbreak, it's withdrawal. She's detoxing from your energy, because deep down she knows your attention was her validation. It was the fuel behind her confidence. And now, without your energy feeding her ego, she's running on fumes. That's why silence isn't cruelty. It's truth in its purest, most powerful form. You see, what she called space was really her attempt to regain emotional control. She expected you to fill the silence with pleading words and restless messages, the same way you always did. But this time, you didn't. You didn't text to ask how she's doing. You didn't scroll through old photos. You didn't check her stories to see if she's moved on. Instead, you channeled all that energy back into yourself, into building, improving, becoming more. And that's when she started to feel it, the shift. Because women are deeply intuitive. They can sense when the energy that once revolved around them begins to redirect inward. She can feel when your mind is no longer orbiting her name. And that realization burns like ice, because nothing terrifies a woman more than a man who has mastered indifference, the kind of man who no longer needs her approval to feel complete. At first, she'll try to rationalize your silence. She'll convince herself that you're just playing a game, that you'll break eventually, that you'll return to the version of yourself she once controlled. But as the days turn into weeks and your absence remains consistent, doubt begins to creep in. The same confidence she flaunted when she walked away starts to dissolve. she'll begin to question if she overplayed her hand, if maybe this time she lost something that won't come back. That's the stage where the power shifts, not because you forced it, but because she finally sees what her pride cost her. She'll replay every conversation, every moment she dismissed you, every time she took your patience for weakness. The same silence she once demanded will now echo so loud she won't be able to escape it. And the cruel irony? She'll realize too late that the attention she used to ignore was the purest love she'll ever experience. Meanwhile, you'll notice something remarkable happening within yourself. The peace that once felt impossible starts to settle in naturally. You begin to understand that real strength doesn't lie in chasing, it lies in holding your center when everything tries to pull you out of it. The more detached you become, the more magnetic your energy grows. You walk differently now. Not with arrogance, but with quiet assurance. You speak less, but your presence says more. People can sense that you've faced your demons and made peace with them, and that kind of inner stillness cannot be faked or forced. It can only be earned through pain. The woman who once thought she had power over you now feels powerless in the face of your calm, because she's used to men who react, who beg, who compete. But you do none of that. You've transcended her emotional battlefield entirely, and that's when she starts craving your attention again. Not because she loves you, but because your peace reminds her of the chaos within herself. Women are drawn to men who are emotionally centered, the kind who can love deeply but never lose themselves in the process. When you finally stop caring whether she comes back, that's when she feels the pull, the strongest, not because you've manipulated her, but because she can sense that you've detached with acceptance, not resentment. That's a level of maturity few men ever reach. Your silence doesn't come from spite, it comes from clarity. You no longer see her as the source of your happiness, but as a lesson that helped you rediscover your worth. You understand now that love is not about possession, it's about alignment. If she wanted peace but kept choosing chaos, she was never ready for what you offered. And that understanding frees you, because once you stop trying to fix people who don't want to heal, your entire life begins to elevate. You become selective with your energy, and that, more than anything, makes her realize just how rare you were. The truth is, most women don't regret losing a man immediately. They regret it slowly in stages, as reality begins to unravel the fantasy. At first, she feels empowered by her independence. Then she starts comparing every new man to you. The conversations feel forced, the chemistry feels artificial, and the connection lacks the depth you once provided effortlessly. And that's when the guilt begins to surface. Not because she lost a man, but because she lost the man. The one who saw her potential, who tolerated her moods, who loved her when she wasn't even lovable. The one who never tried to change her, only tried to understand her. But by the time she realizes this, you've already evolved into a version of yourself she no longer has access to. That's what truly haunts her, knowing you still exist, but no longer for her. You're no longer the man who waited, you're the man who walked away and never looked back. Your silence becomes the story she tells herself at night. She'll scroll through her phone, debating whether to message you. She'll type something, delete it, type again, delete again. Not because she doesn't know what to say, but because she doesn't know who you are anymore. You've become unfamiliar. The man she once had easy access to now feels distant, unreadable, mysterious. That unpredictability draws her in like gravity. Because women are emotional explorers, they crave what they can't fully understand. And now you've become exactly that. You're not bitter, you're not loud, you're not seeking revenge. You've simply outgrown her emotionally. You've reached a point where her validation holds no weight. You've learned to find peace in uncertainty, power in stillness, love in solitude. And that transformation, that emotional detachment rooted in self-awareness, is the most irresistible version of masculinity there is. By now, she'll begin to realize that what she thought was boring stability was actually safety. The consistency she once mocked as predictable was actually devotion. The calmness she labeled as emotionally unavailable was actually maturity. But the problem is, society has conditioned women to chase excitement, not peace. And when excitement fades, all they're left with is emptiness. That's when they begin to crave what they ran from. A man who doesn't beg, doesn't chase, doesn't break. The man who stands tall in his boundaries, who remains kind but detached, who can love without losing himself. That man is rare, and you've become him. You've crossed into a space most men never reach, emotional freedom. And that's what truly drives her mad, because you didn't win her back, you won yourself back. You broke the cycle, you became untouchable. When she sees you again, maybe months later, maybe years, it'll hit her like a storm. You'll seem calm, content, and distant all at once. She'll expect the same emotional attachment she used to exploit, but it won't be there anymore. You'll speak to her politely, maybe even smile, but your eyes won't carry the same warmth. That's the moment her facade will crack. Because women can sense when a man's love has died, not from anger, but from peace. It's a peace that says, I loved you, but I no longer need you. And that's what breaks her. The realization that she can no longer affect you. The energy that once revolved around her now radiates outward into everything you do. You're no longer emotionally bound to her. You're spiritually free. And in that freedom, you've achieved something she never will. Complete mastery over your emotions. So don't text her. Don't chase her. Don't care. Because every time you choose silence over reaction, you're teaching the world how to treat you. You're showing her and yourself that peace is not negotiable. The man who can remain calm in the storm, who can walk away from temptation, who can smile through rejection, that man is unbreakable. And the irony, once you reach that point, women feel it, they sense it, they're drawn to it like a flame they can't touch. Because true masculine energy doesn't chase, it attracts. It doesn't plead, it commands. It doesn't react, it observes. You don't win by proving your worth to her. You win by remembering it. And once you truly understand that, you'll never lose again. There comes a point where the silence becomes your greatest ally. You begin to understand that in a world full of noise, the one who doesn't speak commands the most attention. She starts to feel the absence of your energy in ways she can't articulate. The same woman who once thought she could replace you will sit in a room full of people, laughing, smiling, pretending, but something will feel off. Because no matter how much she tries to convince herself that she's moved on, her subconscious knows the truth. She's still chasing the feeling of being seen by someone who truly understood her, and that's the part she'll never find again. Every new man she meets will either be too eager, too emotional, or too indifferent. None will carry that rare balance of restraint and depth you had. You were the calm in her storm, and now that calm has vanished, leaving her to battle the chaos she created alone. When she finally realizes what she lost, it won't happen in some dramatic moment. It'll happen quietly. Maybe she'll be scrolling through her phone and stumble upon an old message from you. Something simple, something kind, and it'll hit her like a wave. She'll remember the way you used to talk to her, how safe it felt, how patient you were, even when she didn't deserve it. That memory will hurt more than any argument ever did, because now she knows she can't go back. She'll want to reach out, to say something, to break the silence, but she won't. Pride will stop her, fear will stop her, and the truth will stop her, because deep down, she knows you've outgrown her. You're not angry anymore, not resentful, not waiting. You've simply moved on with a grace she can't understand. That kind of detachment terrifies her because it reminds her that you were never dependent on her love, you were only offering it. In the weeks that follow, she'll start to feel the weight of her own choices. The attention she once craved will feel empty. The compliments won't mean anything. The new connections will fade as quickly as they start, because attention without depth is hollow. You offered her something real, something rooted in truth and intention. And when she walked away, she didn't just lose a man, she lost an anchor. You were the mirror that showed her what stability looked like, what loyalty felt like, what masculine calm truly was. Now she's surrounded by men who talk loud but say nothing, who chase her but never challenge her, who show interest but never commitment. And in that emptiness, she'll begin to crave what she once took for granted, your silence, your discipline, your mystery. But by the time she understands the value of what she had, it will be far too late to reclaim it. You, on the other hand, have found freedom in detachment. You've discovered that peace isn't found in getting someone back. It's found in realizing you don't need them anymore. You've stopped waiting for apologies that will never come. You've stopped replaying old memories that no longer serve you. You've stopped hoping she'll see your worth, because you see it now. Every day you wake up and choose to focus on yourself, you're rewriting the story. You're no longer the man who was hurt. You're the man who healed. You no longer chase validation, you attract respect. The pain that once broke you has become your foundation. You've learned to turn heartbreak into strength, rejection into redirection, silence into power, and now you understand the truth. Not caring isn't weakness, it's mastery. It's the realization that love is only pure when it doesn't come at the cost of your dignity. When she finally gathers the courage to reach out, it'll be disguised as something casual. Hey, how have you been? 4 words that carry the weight of everything she never said. She won't mention the regret, the sleepless nights, the constant comparisons, but you'll feel it in the tone. You'll recognize the shift, But by then, you'll be different. You'll read her message, and instead of excitement, you'll feel calm. You'll no longer feel the pull to reply instantly or to resurrect something that died a long time ago. You'll realize that peace is far more intoxicating than passion ever was. You won't respond out of pride, you'll respond out of peace. Or maybe you won't respond at all, because the man who no longer reacts, no longer chases, no longer cares, is the man who's finally won. That's the paradox of power. When you stop trying to control outcomes, everything begins to fall into place. And here's the twist. She won't even understand why she misses you so much. It's not just your presence she craves, it's the emotional equilibrium you provided. You represented safety in a world where everything felt temporary. You gave her something she could lean on, not through words but through consistency. Now that you've withdrawn that energy, she's forced to face herself. Every new connection she attempts will expose her deeper fears. Every man she dates will remind her of the one who didn't need her approval to feel worthy. You've set a standard, not just for her, but for yourself. You've become the man who doesn't chase validation because he creates his own. And that kind of energy cannot be faked, imitated, or forgotten. It leaves an imprint, not just in her mind, but in her soul. Because once a woman experiences genuine masculine calm, nothing else ever feels the same again. People often think that silence is just the absence of words, but silence is actually a language, one that only the emotionally mature can understand. Your silence communicates everything her words never could. It says, I cared, but not at the expense of myself. It says, I saw your games and I chose peace over proving my point. It says, I could have fought for you, but I'd rather fight for my growth. That kind of message doesn't need to be spoken, it's felt. Every time she checks her phone and sees no message from you, every time she wonders if you've moved on, every time she imagines you smiling without her, that silence speaks. It echoes louder than anger ever could, because words can be manipulated, but absence cannot. And that's why silence is the loudest weapon, not because it punishes, but because it reveals who truly had control all along. There's a quiet power that comes from not needing to explain yourself. You stop justifying your choices, stop defending your peace, stop chasing understanding from people who were never meant to understand you. That's the essence of masculine energy, unwavering presence. You no longer move out of desperation or fear of loss. You move with purpose. You focus on building, creating, and protecting your peace like it's sacred because it is. Every ounce of energy you used to spend trying to fix someone is now being invested into your own evolution, and that's what makes you magnetic again. Not the desire to be loved, but the refusal to be drained. You become untouchable, not because you're cold, but because you've learned discernment. Not every woman deserves your warmth. Not every connection deserves your time. And when you finally understand that, you stop chasing and start attracting everything that aligns with your peace. Over time, your silence will start to inspire respect. Not just from her, but from everyone around you. People will notice the difference. They'll see a man who doesn't react, who doesn't break, who doesn't seek attention, and they'll feel it. Because true power doesn't announce itself, it radiates quietly. You'll become the man whose energy fills the room without needing to speak, and she'll feel that too. The woman who once thought she could replace you will watch from a distance as you evolve into everything she once dreamed of. Only now, you belong to yourself. That realization will haunt her in ways she'll never admit. She'll smile in public, but at night she'll replay your silence like a song she can't stop hearing, because deep down she knows you were never trying to win her back. You were trying to win yourself, and that's exactly what you did. So understand this. You win, not when she returns, not when she apologizes, not when she realizes what she lost. You win when you stop needing any of it, when your peace becomes more valuable than her attention, when your self-respect outweighs your desire to be understood, when you can look back on the entire experience and say thank you, not for the pain but for the transformation. Because the man who once texted, chased, and cared too much has now evolved into something far greater. A man who values silence over validation, purpose over approval, and discipline over desire. That's the kind of man women never forget. Not because he played games, but because he refused to. That's how you win. You don't conquer her, you conquer yourself. And once you've mastered that, no one can take your peace away again. At first, she'll try to fight the feeling. She'll distract herself with new people, new routines, new validation, anything to drown out the silence you left behind. But distraction isn't healing, it's delay. And over time, those distractions start to lose their power. The conversations she has with other men won't hit the same. The compliments she receives will feel shallow. Even when she's surrounded by people, there will be an emptiness that lingers because you're not there. Not your voice, not your calm, not your grounded presence. She'll scroll through her messages at night, looking for something real, and realize that she once had it and let it go. That's when the weight of her choices begins to press down. The same silence she thought would make her feel free will now start to suffocate her, because silence doesn't hurt when it comes from indifference. It hurts when it comes from someone who used to care deeply and no longer does. The more she sees you thriving without her, the deeper her confusion grows. She'll expect bitterness, pettiness, or desperation, but instead, she sees peace. She'll notice how composed you are, how light your energy feels, how your presence has evolved into something unshakable. You won't post cryptic quotes or seek revenge because you've outgrown all that. You'll simply exist with quiet strength. That's what disarms her completely. Because women can handle anger, they can rationalize it, they can feed off it, they can even use it to feel powerful. But peace, they can't manipulate peace. They can't fight silence, they can't control stillness. Your calmness reminds her of everything she lost, not just you, but the version of herself that felt safe in your presence. And that's when she'll start longing for something she can't name, a sense of stability, a grounding energy, a man who is unbothered by her chaos. She'll replay the breakup in her head 100 times, analyzing every word you said, every moment you stayed calm, every time you didn't react. She'll realize that your silence wasn't weakness, it was mastery. You weren't ignoring her to hurt her, you were detaching to protect yourself. That realization stings in a way nothing else does, because now she understands that she didn't lose a man who was obsessed. She lost a man who was in control. You were the emotional constant in her unpredictable world, and without you, everything feels unstable. Her sense of power, her sense of desirability, her confidence, all of it starts to unravel. And the irony is, you're not doing anything to make her feel this way. You're just living peacefully, purposefully, privately. You've learned that the loudest revenge is success, and the purest revenge is indifference. That's what she feels every time she thinks of you, the pain of irrelevance. But here's what's most powerful. By the time she finally admits to herself that she misses you, you'll have changed completely. You'll no longer be the man she left. You'll no longer crave her attention, or need her validation, or wait for her apology. You'll have built a new life, one filled with direction, passion, and purpose. You'll wake up with peace instead of anxiety. You'll go to sleep feeling fulfilled instead of drained. You'll find beauty in solitude, comfort in your own company, and strength in your stillness. She'll see you glowing from a distance, not because of someone else, but because you finally chose yourself. That's when the regret will hit her hardest. Not because you're gone, but because you're happy. Because the man she once broke has now become the man she can never reach again. That's the point of no return, and it's where you finally win without saying a word. There's something poetic about watching karma unfold slowly. You don't chase it, you don't wish for it, you simply live, and the universe handles the rest. While she's caught in cycles of short-lived connections and emotional confusion, you're leveling up in silence. Your focus shifts entirely toward growth, your health, your discipline, your craft, your peace. You start to understand that heartbreak wasn't a punishment, it was preparation. It pushed you into isolation, so you could rebuild yourself from the ground up. And that's what makes your story powerful, because now your life isn't about proving her wrong, it's about proving yourself right. You've realized that the best revenge isn't making her jealous, it's becoming untouchable. You've evolved into a version of yourself that can't be manipulated, can't be controlled, and can't be broken again. And when she sees that, truly sees it, she'll understand what she lost. But by then, her understanding won't matter anymore. She'll start showing up indirectly, watching your stories, liking old posts, finding ways to appear in your orbit without admitting she misses you. But you won't even notice, because your focus won't be on her anymore. That's what destroys her, the realization that your world no longer revolves around hers. You used to give her emotional dominance without even realizing it. You let her moods dictate your peace. You let her attention validate your worth. But now you've taken all that power back. You're the one who decides what gets your time, your energy, and your heart. You've become immune to emotional manipulation, and that immunity terrifies her, because once a man no longer responds to feminine chaos, the entire dynamic changes. You've become the man she can't control, and that's the man every woman secretly craves, but can never conquer. The beauty of this stage is that you stop needing closure. You stop needing to understand why she did what she did. or whether she regrets it. You realize that closure isn't something she gives you, it's something you give yourself, and you find it the moment you stop looking backward. You find it when you accept that not everyone deserves access to your love. Some people only come into your life to show you how much you've been underestimating yourself. And once you learn that lesson, you no longer chase love that drains you. You no longer beg for attention that's conditional. You no longer apologize for choosing peace. That's when you become truly dangerous, not because you're cold, but because you're free. You love differently now, selectively, intentionally, quietly. You no longer confuse love with tolerance. You understand now that boundaries are not walls, they're filters that protect your peace. When she sees you next, she won't just see the man she left. She'll see the man she created through her absence. Every ounce of pain, confusion, and betrayal became fuel for your transformation. You're sharper now, wiser, calmer. You don't seek validation because you validate yourself. You don't beg for love because you embody it. You've learned how to fill your own cup so completely that you no longer crave anyone else's approval. And that kind of power is magnetic, not because it's flashy, but because it's rare. Women can sense when a man has found himself. They can feel it in his posture, in his energy, in his silence. And when she senses that, when she realizes that the same silence she once mocked has now turned into confidence, she'll be haunted by one thought that will never leave her. He didn't need me after all. The irony is that everything she once took for granted is what she'll now crave. Your consistency, your calmness, your patience, the way you used to listen without judgment, the way you stayed grounded even when things got messy. She'll look back and realize that you were never the problem. Her lack of self-awareness was. But regret is a slow burn. It doesn't come all at once. It comes in waves. Some nights she'll think of you randomly and feel a sting in her chest. Some days she'll wish she could go back, not to change what happened, but to experience that feeling of safety one more time. But it's gone. You've moved on. You've found peace in solitude while she's still searching for connection in chaos. That's what true strength looks like. Not needing revenge, not needing recognition, not needing closure, just quiet acceptance and inner power. So if you've reached this point, if you've truly stopped texting, stopped chasing, stopped caring, understand that you've already won. Because you're no longer operating from emotion. You're operating from awareness. You've realized that peace is not something you wait for, it's something you choose. And once you've tasted that kind of peace, nothing else compares. The woman who once thought she had power over you will fade into the background of your story, while you move forward, building a life that feels whole without her. And maybe one day, she'll look back and realize that losing you wasn't punishment, it was her greatest lesson. Because a man who can walk away with peace is the man she'll never stop thinking about. Not because he was perfect, but because he was real. And in a world full of temporary attention, realness is the one thing she'll never find again. As time continues to stretch further away from the day she walked out of your life, her mind begins to betray her. She thought she'd move on easily, that her feelings would fade, that new faces and temporary highs would erase what you two had. But the human heart doesn't work like that. It remembers who made it feel safe. She'll see traces of you in unexpected moments. A song that once played when you drove together, a scent that lingers on a passing stranger, a phrase someone uses that sounds just like something you used to say. Those tiny reminders cut deeper than any argument ever could, because while you've learned to accept and let go, she's learning to carry the weight of her own choices. And that's the cruel beauty of time. It doesn't erase memories, it magnifies them. It brings clarity she wasn't ready for. And when that clarity comes, it doesn't whisper, it screams. The silence you left behind will become her loudest teacher. At first it will make her angry. She'll tell herself you're cold, emotionless, detached. She'll paint you as heartless to protect her ego from admitting the truth that you were never cruel, you were just done. But as her denial fades, she'll realize something she can't unsee, that your silence wasn't punishment, it was closure. You stopped fighting, not because you stopped caring, but because you finally understood. Love doesn't require suffering, and that revelation will haunt her. Because now she knows that no amount of manipulation or pretending can recreate the authenticity you brought into her life. She'll scroll through messages she never replied to, moments she ruined for control, and realize that you weren't her weakness, you were her balance. You were the calm her chaos couldn't handle. And now, she's left with the chaos alone. While she's trapped in emotional cycles, you'll be thriving in silence. You've evolved from survival mode to creation mode. You're no longer running from pain, you're building from it. You've discovered that solitude isn't loneliness, it's alignment. You start waking up with peace instead of anxiety, excitement instead of regret. You pour into your passions, your goals, your growth, and every step you take forward becomes a silent declaration. I didn't need closure, I needed purpose. That's what she'll feel when she sees you again. The difference between a man who healed and a woman who hid from her healing. She'll sense the strength in your restraint, the quiet power in your stillness, and she'll realize that you didn't disappear because you were weak. You disappeared because you outgrew her emotional limitations. You walked away, not to hurt her, but to protect the man she took for granted. There's something deeply unsettling about realizing that the person you thought would chase you never looked back. That's the emotional hurricane she'll live in. She'll look at your life now, your focus, your peace, your glow, and she'll wonder, was I ever that important? The answer will hurt her more than anything. Yes, you were, until you stopped valuing yourself for her. The moment you stopped centering your world around her approval, you reclaimed your throne. And in that act of self-respect, she lost her power completely. Because no woman can manipulate a man who has nothing left to prove. No woman can control a man who's learned how to walk away. And no woman can replace a man whose presence was built on peace instead of ego. That realization doesn't come suddenly. It comes quietly in the spaces between her thoughts, in the nights you can't sleep, in the dreams where your voice still lingers. And while she hides behind the illusion of moving on, life will start teaching her lessons she once ignored. She'll meet men who talk like you, but don't act like you. Men who promise everything and deliver nothing. Men who confuse lust for connection and validation for intimacy. With every disappointment, she'll be reminded of the consistency you brought into her life. The kind of reliability that can't be faked. Because despite what she tells herself, she knows you were different. You weren't perfect, but you were real. You didn't chase drama, you brought peace. You didn't compete for her attention, you gave her direction, and that kind of energy, calm, composed, purposeful, becomes irreplaceable once it's gone. The same stability she once found boring will now be the very thing she craves, but by then that version of you will be long gone, replaced by a man who no longer seeks to be understood, only respected. Eventually she'll reach out again, maybe months later, maybe years, under the guise of just checking in, but you'll hear it in her tone. The regret, the nostalgia, the subtle attempt to reconnect with something that no longer exists. And you'll smile, not out of arrogance, but out of peace. Because you'll realize that you no longer need her validation. You no longer need her presence to feel whole. You'll respond, if you even choose to, from a place of calm detachment, not emotional attachment. And that's what will shake her the most. Because she expected anger, or longing, or bitterness, not peace. Peace is something she can't fight, can't argue with, can't manipulate. Your silence turned into serenity, and your serenity turned into power. And when a man learns to harness peace, he becomes untouchable. That's the stage she'll never reach, because peace requires accountability, and she's still running from hers. She'll watch your transformation from afar, maybe through mutual friends, maybe through social media, maybe through silence, and she'll notice something different in your eyes. Not pain, not resentment, but purpose. You'll carry yourself differently now. Your energy will command respect without saying a word. People will be drawn to you, not because you seek attention, but because you radiate self-respect. That's what happens when a man detaches from emotional dependency. He becomes magnetic. The world starts to bend in his favor. Opportunities appear. Peace multiplies. You become the kind of man who no longer needs to prove anything because your life speaks louder than words ever could. That's when she'll realize too late that she was never competing with other women. She was competing with your potential. And when she walked away, she lost to the man you were becoming. There's a poetic justice in letting time reveal what words never could. You never had to expose her flaws, never had to humiliate her, never had to wish her pain. You simply lived, and life, in its quiet balance, did the rest. Every manipulation she used to feel powerful now backfires as isolation. Every lie she told herself for comfort now burns with guilt. Every game she played now feels meaningless. Meanwhile, your silence grows stronger, your peace deeper, your presence heavier, because peace doesn't mean passivity, it means mastery. You've mastered your emotions, your reactions, your energy. You've learned that real men don't chase, they build. Real men don't compete, they create. Real men don't fight for attention, they command it naturally. And that's what separates you now. You no longer live to prove your worth to anyone. You live to protect it. And that's something she'll never unsee. As years pass, she'll still think of you, not every day, but often enough to remind her of the difference between attention and connection. She'll have moments where she wonders if you ever think of her too. You might, occasionally, but without pain, without longing, without any emotional charge, because healing doesn't erase memories, it removes their power. You'll remember her as a chapter, not as the story. You'll smile, not because you miss her, but because you're grateful. She taught you what self-respect truly means. She forced you to find peace in silence, to grow through heartbreak, to stand alone and still be enough. And that realization that you don't need anyone to complete you is the ultimate victory. Because the man who can stand alone without bitterness is the man who has transcended loss. You've become that man. And that's something no heartbreak can ever take away. So let her go, not out of anger, but out of love. Love for yourself, love for your peace, love for the man you've become through the pain. Because one day she'll wake up and realize what she lost. The man who listened, who cared, who stayed, who grew, and she'll feel a kind of emptiness that can't be filled by anyone else. But by then, you'll already be gone, not in distance, but in spirit. You'll have ascended to a level of emotional mastery where her absence no longer hurts, it teaches, her silence no longer wounds, it validates, her regret no longer matters, it confirms your strength. You'll have become the man she never believed you could be. Calm, powerful, unshakable, and that's the ultimate lesson. You don't win her back, you win yourself back. Because the truth is, peace isn't something you find after love. Peace is what love becomes when it finally matures.